Galen, there was a surprise announcement this week
Okay.
of Fire Emblem.
Yeah, I know about that.
We'll talk about it in the news, but to start off the show in the cold open, I just want you to tell everybody what is the plot of Fire Emblem 1 on the NES.
Well, you see, it all starts out when you play as the main hero, Fire Emblem.
Right.
He is a main character with blue hair. Sometimes it's red. It depends on what version of the game that you're playing. There's a red version and the blue version.
Okay,
And
yep, I'm following you.
You're going around and you're looking for a very special item. I think it might have been an envelope. I'm not quite sure. I haven't played the game all the way through myself because, fake gamer. But
You're losing me here, but go on.
yeah, no. The entire thing is it's a story about friends and family and turtles and bestiality, and it's fun for the whole family.
And I'm going to guess that Fire Emblem didn't come here to make friends, he came here to be number one, right?
But he learns that the true adventure was the friends he learned along the way.
Perhaps the real fire was the emblem that he was the whole Marth. Hello, my Marths and Sitas. Friends, thank you for joining us today on the Nintendo Everything Podcast, episode 102. Ichimaru. I am Oni Dino. With me, I have the unit that you send out to do the scouting because you don't care if he makes it back. You can't even remember his name. It's Galen.
But somehow I'm that one character that always kind of sneaks up when it comes to experience. And then you're just like, I don't want to use this character, but I kind of have to because I haven't been leveling up my other people. So
I think it's the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
you don't level up, and then you're ended up in the next battle where you have to use you because you have to make every use of every character, and then you're like, oh, this guy is under-leveled by 4 levels compared to the enemy. He just did 1 hit. Oh, they one-shotted him. Okay, bye, Felicia. There's a reference for you that's way too old.
I would say that shots fired, but there's no shooting in Fire Emblem.
Also, if you said shots fired, that would just be 2 really old references, and we would be a really pathetic peas in a pod right now on a podcast. So good thing that you didn't say that, you know.
You summed it up quite well. Welcome to the Nintendo Everything Podcast.
Well, I'm just very eloquent today. Friends, thank you for joining us. We are recording in the evening, something that we normally don't do lately. We've been recording in the mornings.
Yeah, this is an old school time slot for us, so yeah.
And Galen, it's Galen's fault. So we're a weekly show. Episodes go live every Sunday. Please leave us a rating on the Apple Podcast, aka the iTunes. Do what you can on whatever podcast platform you listen to, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts. Click the subscribe button or whatever the hell it is that is on the thing. If there's a like button or a share button, it helps us to grow. And that's the most important thing here.
Yeah. We are really appreciating all of those high marked ratings that you guys are leaving for us. So
oh yeah. I went sort of duff, man. I don't know how this episode is gonna go. I don't know if it's gonna be lovely and intimate, or if it's just gonna be a sad train wreck.
I think it's going to be our trademark blend of intimate train wreck.
No, but I think it's gonna be even worse than that. It's gonna be like a school bus on railroad tracks hit by a train that cannot be stopped. Sad.
And let me guess, the school bus is filled with puppies?
Sure.
Poor puppies.
So hey everybody, thank you so much for the feedback last week where I was like, I'm going to be editing the show a whole lot less because I got some changes in my professional life, so got to edit the podcast a little bit less in post, and y'all were super helpful, so thank you very much, and please keep that up. Let me know if anything sounds really bad. Speaking of sounding bad, let's move on into our adventure log where we talk about the games we played this week.
Mm-hmm.
Galen, where's your Twitter? What's Twitter handle?
You can always reach out to me on Twitter at Mobius087, and yeah, it's a great place to get in touch with me.
Galen,
I don't know. I had something
less
else.
is more. Less is more. You're you're like a vacuum right now, bro.
Yeah.
Equally pathetic, I'm found at Oni_Dino on Twitter. Now, Galen, this is something that you've been talking a whole lot about. And I'm surprised to see it resurge because I feel like we've talked about this for like 3 weeks or 4 weeks. But we haven't really. Galen, tell me about Tokyo Mirage Sessions #FFur.
Yeah. It's a really awesome game where you play as a blue-haired character named Fire Emblem who goes along and... I wanted to give my impressions on some Baldur's Gate 3. Wow. Words. Thanks for sticking around, people.
This is bad. Galen, Baldur's Gate 3, tell me about it.
Yeah, I finally got my hands on it, played it a little bit, and yeah, I've got some impressions.
Yeah. Faster.
Yes. Game is a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying my time. I'm giving it the handicap of, jank be plenty because it's early access, but it lets me look past a lot of the problems that I would find in a more fully fleshed out game and makes me feel more empowered to give critique in hopes that they will be able to fix this when the final product comes out. So some things that the game is doing very, very well. I really enjoyed the character creation process. They've got quite a few selections in there for being able to build everything up. It's not so much like Mass Effect or Dragon Age in the sense of you've got sliders for days. It's here are your 1 to 14 preset different faces that you can go ahead and select between. But there's also even more choices when it comes to hairstyles and tattoo markings and flesh tones. There's a lot of different ways that you can make your avatar look exactly how you want him or her to look.
Galen, when you make a character in like games like this, do you make like yourself but cooler?
I mean, I wish I could say yes, but that's a pretty low bar to jump over, so I kind of have to like go even further.
Right.
My wife actually made a character. She is it's either a blue-skinned or a purple-skinned tiefling, which is very entertaining to watch. She's got this like braided mohawk that goes down.
Are tieflings in Baldur's Gate?
Yeah.
Is Baldur's Gate Dungeons and Dragons?
Yes! Have you not been listening to me?
Wait a second, really?
Yeah. No, okay, so Baldur's Gate takes
shit, I just opened up a can of worms.
No, Baldur's Gate takes place canonically in the Forgotten Realms, and specifically the Sword Coast, which is, if you are reading any of the D&D books, that is where a lot of that stuff kind of takes place in. So
just pick up a hammer and nail my coffin shut right now.
Well, I won't go too much further into that. There are a number of different races you can choose between, Tiefling being one of them. They've got a couple of variations of elves. They've got some dwarves, halflings. This being a beta build, they do omit some of the more complicated ones. Like there are no dragonborns in there. There's no furbolgs or anything like that. So think of your...
Are those real races that you just said?
Yes, they really are.
God, it's like a foreign language.
But there are plans on bringing more of those classes into the game. And in fact, the modding community is already adding some of them. Like I've seen a couple of mods where you can play as a minotaur or a goblin. And that's part of the reason why I was so excited to jump in onto this this early access so early. Yeah. What I really liked about it is that not only are you building up your character to traditional D&D stats, like you pick your class, you pick your proficiencies, you say what your character wants to be good at, You also pick the background and your character's sexual attraction preferences, and you can change that to be whatever it is that you want. You can have it be, whatever opposite gender you are or same gender, but you can also go for you are a halfling who happens to be attracted to dwarves or
and then
like
that changes
elves.
like dialogue options for you when you play the game, right?
I would assume so, yeah. It's actually really weird. They specifically make a second character for you, and they ask you, who is it that you dream of? I haven't come across to what this actually means or what this does, but it is very plainly, hey, this is the person that your character wants to initially be romantically invested in.
Can you choose yourself?
You could make yourself, yes.
This is the greatest game that's ever been made.
So, going into the actual gameplay itself, one thing that I was very worried about was how this game was going to approach being a tabletop RPG or have inspirations from it while still being a video game at the same time.
Well, wait, haven't they already done that plenty of times with Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 and Planescape and all that?
Yeah, Larian Studios definitely has a lot of experience with that, but when you're playing tabletop RPGs, there's a certain expectation that you are able to have of freedom of what your character can do. If you want to completely say, hey, you're giving me this quest, but I don't like how you're treating me, well, screw you, I'm going to shank you, take your gold, and then walk away and find something else to do. This game will let you do that. And it is very unforgiving with that amount of freedom as well. There's this one part where you can walk up and you see these soldiers or these scouts who are running away from a bunch of goblins who get trapped outside of the gates of their main camp. And the story is kind of scripted to incentivize you to kind of help them out and join the fight against the goblins. But heck, if you want to, you can literally just turn around and walk the other way, and those characters will die. And all story access will be completely cut off. But that leads to some other things. You can now maybe partner with the goblins and be like, hey, I saw what you got going on there. Maybe we can work together getting into that camp.
When you say, I see what you got going on there, that makes me think that it's like a sexy goblin.
Hey, if that's the character class that you made, maybe. While playing it, though, I was reminded of the article that you were talking about last week. Specifically how there was a narrative disconnect with how you were playing out your character. And I think a little bit has to do with how they set up their conversations. It gives you dialogue trees to be able to, personalize your character a little bit and give them some internal flavor, if you will.
Right. Flavors the meat.
But it does the same thing that a lot of the EA RPGs do, where it's very cinematic, going from this is the person who's talking to this is another pose that this person is talking. Kind of like how Dragon Age does their conversation trees.
Wait, is Baldur's Gate 3 an EA published game?
No, it is not.
Okay.
No, but it is very reminiscent of that. And I feel like that's a little bit of just that modern kind of like RPG, like Western RPG specifically.
Yeah, for sure. And very much the whole left by BioWare.
And I feel like that might have been where some of those complaints come from. But I don't know. I gotta play the game a little bit more. I'm not really feeling that narrative disconnect just yet. I do really wish that your character had more of a voice in the game, and I mean that in a literal sense. Like, you are allowed to select the voice of your character at the very beginning, which, by the way, you can, if you're a male character, you can have a female voice and the game perfectly goes along with it. So I'm actually really kind of happy with how this game implemented those kind of freedoms for somebody who wanted to explore that.
Yeah.
So, but once you select that, there's very little times that voice actually comes into play, other than sound effects for when your character's moving around. It doesn't come up in conversation like we've seen in some other games. So I'm wondering if this is just a feature that is going to be coming on later. If it's not, Larian, please put that in there. Like, this is something that I think should happen.
Well, okay, so this is the weird thing about this game. It's an early access game, but is it a full price game? What did you end up paying for it?
It is a full price game. It's $60. So
And then every single thing that they update, you're getting that for free?
correct.
Presumably?
Yes. So
I don't know how much I like this structure of like, here's a partially made game. Here, you know, give us feedback and stuff like that. I'm all for people giving feedback, players themselves giving feedback, just because they sort of will end up seeing it slightly differently than a development team or even QA testers.
Yeah.
But I don't know, just like this isn't like, okay, we're releasing a prototype demo and you give us feedback and then we'll make changes and then 6 months later the real thing comes out. This is an early access thing, and like, I don't know, I guess early access has existed for a while, but I've stayed far from it because I don't know. I wish to be excused.
Well, and that's part of the reason why I was hesitant to even purchase the game at first, and why I hadn't played it when I talked about it last week. My feelings are still very similar. In any other structure, I would probably take a hard pass because I would want to wait for the full version of the game to come out and kind of get that experience to, you know, in its entirety.
Because I think a lot of consumers are lying to themselves that they're going to replay the game or whatever when the full version launches or whatever, but like, especially if everything is like happening incrementally. Oh boy, what is happening?
Incrementally.
In increments.
Incrementally.
Okay, I was putting in a whole syllable. Boy.
Incrementally.
Shut up. I didn't say that. Now I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, if it's happening like that, then you know, how can you tell the line when something is happening so gradually where it's like, okay, now this is the full product and now it's a polished experience. You know what I mean? Because so many games come out anyway, especially big games like this, especially by Western studios. I mean, Eastern studios are, you know, guilty of it too, but I see it a lot with Western studios where like, you know, the game at launch is like a mess or it's buggy or there's like a bunch of problems and then they fix it later. I mean, especially in QA, not to go down a rabbit hole with this, but especially in QA, there are so many things that testers will find and the publisher will deem it as known shippables, meaning it is a known bug, it's fine, it will ship with the bug, and then it will be fixed post-launch with a patch. That is an actual determination in your, you know, your levels of, is it green or is it red, you know, in between those hues of colors. What level of urgency is it?
Absolutely. And like I said, any other game, any other format, I would probably take a pass on this. I feel like with the spirit behind this particular game, though, is a little bit different because it is pulling so hardly. It is pulling hard. Yeah, this podcast is a mess today.
It's hard, Galen. It's very hard.
The essence of this game, the essence of this game is pulling so hard on the tabletop RPG community. And a lot of the times when a game comes out, there are homebrewed rules that kind of come along with it. It is a development process that is blended between both the dungeon master, the game master, whoever's running quote unquote the game, and the players to find out what works best and what the most people want to have fun with. And
yeah, but the cynical part of me just thinks like, is this not just really in the corporation's favor? You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. And don't get me wrong, like, to be perfectly fair, I do not recommend this game for somebody who wants the full experience in chunks. Like, if that is your intention on what you want out of this game, you're probably going to end up disappointed. because you're gonna feel things like that narrative disconnect, like was referenced in the review that you mentioned before.
Yeah, it was like it was an early access review by Kazuma on Silicon Era.
Mm-hmm. You're gonna struggle with some of the bugs and the glitches, and trust me, they're there. Like there is jank aplenty in this game.
Yeah.
With that said, though, the big deciding factor to this was that I understand what it's kind of like to be an evolving story and an evolving process that kind of goes along with it. And also, I was actually kind of like attracted to the idea that it was only like a 25-30 hour experience with so many other games that are going to be coming out so soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to be able to be perfectly fine playing this until Hyrule Warriors comes out in November. And then I'll be able to put all of my time into that. And then there's, I'm very interested in Cyberpunk 2077. Like, there's a lot of other games that are going to be coming out that by the time I'm looking to kind of come back to this game, it's going to be a completely different game than when I left it. And I'm okay with that. And I'm interested to see the evolution between those two.
Well, we've talked far too long about this, but there is one ultimate question about this Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
Is it as boring as a tabletop RPG?
No. So, I find that one of the most boring parts about a tabletop RPG, specifically Dungeons & Dragons, with its latest iteration, is the combat. Because the combat drags on for far too long. You either have people who are waiting 20 minutes to have their turn come around and then they don't really care what's going on, or you get the dungeon master who wants to pull a Matthew Mercer and be super descriptive with every single attack that they make and just like completely miss the point of trying to engage their players. That's where I feel like the video game aspect of this, the fact that something is running in the background and doing all the hard calculations for you so that it's instant, that is the biggest appeal to this. So you can really invest yourself on building up your character, finding what your character wants to say and what makes your character you. So
I do want to say at the end of this, if you are interested in like Baldur's Gate 3, but you're like kind of turned off by the scheme that is currently available, check out Divinity Original Sin 2. That was made by the same studio that is making Baldur's Gate 3. It's their own original game, and it's great.
Yeah.
You can play it completely in couch co-op, and you and your person will have a split screen, and you're going off doing whatever. It's almost like you're playing two versions of the game in LAN. It's
exactly.
Great.
And I don't know if they're planning on that in this game, but I do know there is a co-op feature, both with local multiplayer as well as multiplayer online. So, yeah.
That's cool. Well, I hope they finish the game before the world ends.
It is a bit of a race, so yeah.
Speaking of the world ending...
Did the world end with you? Did you get a nice pin for it?
That was good, Galen. Good job.
Thank you.
That was really good. I just don't like that game.
I wanted to like that game. I really did. I could not get used to the battle system. I tried. I really did.
I'm also especially now scorned by some of Nomura's designs that I'm just like, listen, I've grown up from this. Anyway.
That's a twink with headphones and a belt. All right.
I don't think I've ever heard you say the word twink, and honestly never say it again.
It felt weird. It felt really weird.
Like you were saying a slur, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel wrong after that.
Anyway, I be playing, I tried to play Prinny 2, I should say.
Yeah?
Yeah. I been super busy, and I'm trying to, refit my schedule. What is this? What is this laughter?
No, just the high-pitched voice. I just want to ask, are you about to tell Miss Tron to go back to the Gesellschaft or something?
Miss Tron, would you like to go back to the Gesellschaft? I used to be able to do that better when I was younger and I had a higher voice.
Back when it was simpler times.
Back when it was so much simpler. Remember hugging?
Oh, God, yeah.
Anyway. I tried to play Prinny 2. I'm, reorganizing my life schedule because I got a big project that I'm working on right now. So I haven't been able to play video games very much. The only time I've had is like when I have like literal downtime laying in my bed. And Prinny 2 is not a game you want to play when you're trying to relax. I said that about Prinny 1. Prinny 2, even harder so. I will make that emphasis.
Did you finish Prinny 1?
No, but
All right. Don't judge.
Yeah. You better not be. That glass house over there.
Yeah.
Prinny 2 is harder than the first game. Maybe I was just in a bad space at the time and I had to put it down, but it is still just so great. Like, I love those cutscenes. Got such an early 2000s cartoon vibe to it. And I love that what kicks off the story for number 2 is that Etna's panties get stolen. And she's like, which one of you pervs? And they're like, we didn't do it, dude. Like, what would we want with your panties? And who would even want your panties? So
man, I love the entire Disgaea series. Like, it is so great.
It's really wonderful. I love the character in that series.
Yeah.
So that's about it. Like, I really have not been playing much. I've been playing Picross a little bit.
You've just been hunting for demon lolly panties. That's all you've been doing.
Shut up. That's not what that is at all. Any of it. Anyway, who else plays Picross here that listens to this podcast? I know we got some of those weirdos. I love Picross so much. It's perfect.
Do you get high scores in Picross?
Yeah, because of the time.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, if you play Picross, then you should share your high scores with us in our Discord that we forgot to mention earlier.
Oh, okay, yeah. I will not do that. I will refrain. However, you may join our Discord. We have a Nintendo Everything Podcast. Discord's just for the podcast. And it's a lot of fun. People be sharing game sales, sharing information, offering some help, doing some stuff. You can go to my Twitter, and then it's there. There's a link there or something, or probably. Or you can just go to your browser and type this in: tiny.cc/Nintendo Everything Pod. And that will send you right to the Discord.
Mm-hmm. I want to have a special call out because they
shout out, Galen. That's the word you're looking for. Is shout out.
Is it shout out or call out? Is this like a
shout out
forklift
is a
thing
positive? Again? Okay, well, yes, because this is a fork truck moment again. Because you are so wrong. Call out is when you're negatively calling somebody out. Like, listen, Galen, I'm gonna call you out.
I said shout out, not call out.
You didn't say shout out. I said shout out.
I said I wanted to specifically shout out.
You did not. We have this on recording, and I'm going insane.
Play the tapes.
What, Galen? What do you want to shout call?
I want to call shout our lovely community who let everybody know of an amazing deal on Killer Queen Black. And yeah, it was like on sale for like $1 or $2.
$2.
It was like, yeah, it was super, super cheap. And I think by the time this show goes up, that weekend I think they're trying to get some sort of like community gaming thing going on. I have to double check on that.
Oh yeah,
I know there was mentionings of that.
People on our Discord be super active, and so come on over and play some video games. I don't know if I can participate this one around or not because I may literally not even have the time.
Yeah,
but I will be participating in the future.
Week, so.
Oh right, Galen works.
Yeah,
this week at least.
Anyway, I got a weird schedule.
Plenty of that's not the only thing that's weird. Plenty of things happen over there in the Discord. Speaking of plenty of things happening, news.
You made the segue happen, so I'm not gonna fault you. I'm not gonna, berate you.
Crumbling in audio, that's my life right now. So
deep breaths.
Let's have a brief mention of the Pokemon Sword and Shield DLC that came out. Is it called Frozen Tundra? What is it called?
Yes.
Sure. That's out. That just launched. So have a fun, everybody. There was also some leaks from, I think, the beta version of Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Yeah, it was either a beta version or a debug menu or something like that. I did not look too much closely into this because there was really no news to come of it. It was just...
There wasn't a whole lot. Yeah. Not a whole lot to discuss. And then also, I think that I want to refrain from discussing leaks of like very recent games like this. I don't know. It's going to be a case-by-case basis, but it just makes me think of like... I don't know, just sort of a bummer for the people who worked on it. And I don't know, there's just, I think, more vitriol that comes out of leaks for specifically Sword and Shield because it's just more ammunition for people to spin and suddenly be like, see, now this proves that there's whatever this, or this proves that they were lazy, or, you know what I mean? It's just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I gotta lie down.
I don't know, especially in a game like Pokemon or just any game that is still kind of like in, I don't want to call it in development, but still evolving.
It still has content coming out for it.
Exactly. Any sort of like leaks or anything like that, it's like jumping to conclusions way too quickly.
Yeah, that, and also I want people to experience it, you know, how it is meant to be experienced, and I don't know. So, moving on from that, what the did I just write down? Oh, very briefly, there was a, speaking of leaks, a Taiwanese rating board, which seems to be leaking lots of video games lately. There's a game called Drawn to Life, Two Realms. So another entry in the Drawn to Life series is probably happening, according to the Taiwanese rating board.
Have you ever played any of the Drawn to Life games?
I haven't. So, have you?
I played the first one for the DS.
Tell us what these games are, Galen.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, it's a very simple, kind of like puzzle-solving game, but the main mechanic is that you are given the ability to basically bring anything into the world that you want, and then use that as an option to like solve whatever puzzles are in front of you.
And it's also made by the same developers, Fifth Cell, that made Scribblenauts. That game I have played.
Yeah, I do often get Scribblenauts and Drawn to Life confused.
Me too! Me too! When I started to write down notes about this, I was like, wait, no, that's Scribblenauts, not Drawn to Life. Drawn to Life is the one that was on the DS. Well, I mean, Scribblenauts was too, but anyway, Drawn to Life was on the DS. There was two of them there, and then I think there was a Wii version, and then there was also a SpongeBob one.
Yeah.
It's more about actually drawing things out. Scribblenauts is about words and wordplay, right?
Yeah, you can type in different things. So
yeah. Scribblenauts, you could like type
Godzilla.
in Yes, I was just gonna say Godzilla! How wonderful. Well, show's over, folks.
Yeah,
that was it.
This is the high point.
Gotta go out on a high note like George Costanza. You do not know that reference.
Serenity Now?
No, it's a different episode. Nice try.
Yeah, I know.
Good try.
At least I know what it's from.
Well, Galen, way to deflate yourself, like immediately just go tumbling down the hill. Like Chris Farley and Black Sheep.
Drifting down the hill?
Yeah, okay, fine, we'll take it. Also very briefly, well, hold on. Yeah, okay. Whatever, I'm tired. Also really briefly, Nintendo announced, at least in America, that they are lowering the price of single Joy-Con. So a single Joy-Con used to be $50 US. Now it's going to be 40.
Yeah. Now, this is actually the first time that I've even recognized the fact that they sold individual Joy-Cons. Is that something that's going to be new to the States, or is that something we've had for a while?
I think that they have been selling single Joy-Con, because I'm pretty sure I saw them in a store many moons ago. Back when
I haven't been in a store
existed.
like all year, so.
Yeah, and some buddies of mine, they stayed at my place back in 2017, I want to say, and they stayed there because they're musicians, so you know they were just doing some shows in the city, and then to like say thank you for letting them stay for like several days, they came back with a single Joy-Con for me. And I'm pretty sure I took it out of the box and everything like that. Like it wasn't just nice. They didn't just like pull it out of their pocket. You know, it wasn't sweaty or something.
I had this. Here you go.
Yeah, I'm positive. I'm next to positive, but there's just so many people who are like, they never sold them, and I'm like, I'm almost sure that they did, but now I'm second guessing myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm almost positive they did. I don't know. We should check the internet. Too bad there is no way to know. There is no internet full of information.
I bring this up because I think Nintendo's announcement on this was related. I think it was like a Twitter post or something like that they were doing. But the big thing was that they were saying that the colors were the neon red and the neon blue, but it was the same type that comes with the oh god, what is it? The actual Switch console. The bundle, like,
what do you
when
mean?
you first get the Switch itself, it comes with those colors on those sides.
Yeah, I think maybe they sold them individually, but the opposite colors. So like,
yeah,
whatever.
They sold a controller set that it was those colors, but they were switched. And I remember because I bought that separate one, and I was excited that now I have a matching pair of blue ones and a matching pair of red ones.
People like you are so weird.
Yeah, I'm really weird.
Like, I understand in terms of aesthetic. I don't understand in terms of spending $80.
Yeah.
That's where I can't. Absolutely can't.
I don't manage my money well.
I know, Galen. Your wife knows, Galen.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, honey.
The amiibos on your shelf know, Galen.
Oh, yeah. But no, that's one of the things that peeked out at me the most was just that they were selling those colors that went along with the console.
You're just making up expressions.
I'm sure that's an expression somewhere. You're too tired. Go away.
No, you. Unfortunate you. Anyway, this price drop, I should say, it already happened in Japan. This happened before. That was the first thing that we heard about earlier this month. And so hopefully it will reach other regions, especially because of the holidays coming up. So fingers crossed. Also, this price drop is not going into effect until November 9th, I want to say. It's November something. It's a single digit number. And also, it's not so much a savings because if you just want a single Joy-Con, it's a savings. But it's still $80 to get a pair of Joy-Con, and that price hasn't changed. So this is only if you want to buy a single one.
You think that those prices would go down considering how much flack the actual Joy-Cons having?
We'll see with that. There's like several litigations happening right now. So we'll see.
As a side note, I'm getting a bunch of messages from my wife right now. She's just saying, "What did you do? Do I need to fight you? I'll wreck you."
Love her.
I love you.
Big news this week. Big news, everyone. We're gonna party like it's 1990 because the original Fire Emblem, this is so weird, the original Fire Emblem on the NES, which never released in the West, is getting a brushed up port with a full localization releasing on the Switch.
No, this is really cool.
This is really weird.
Nobody was asking for this, but I'm still okay getting it.
Especially because there is a full-on remake of the first game for the DS. I think that it wasn't received particularly well compared to other Fire Emblem games. I don't think it sold particularly well either, but still, there's a remake of this game, so it's weird that this is getting a full-on localization.
Yeah. But then again, I mean, they're selling the game for, what is it, only $5-6 US? Like, it's super
really
cheap.
Really fair. It's $6 US for the digital version. And I mean, you think about it, back on the Wii U, was it Super Nintendo games were $7 and then NES games were $5? So the fact that they're selling this game, which is going to have like bookmarks, you know, like save states and some like speed up options, just like small minor quality of life difference additions that make all of the difference when you're playing, especially, you know, a game from 1990 with 2020 modern standards. Like, it really makes a huge difference. I will gladly pay for that kind of thing. But they're only
absolutely.
$6. That's great. I think that anybody should buy this just to support this kind of thing. Maybe Nintendo will do more older NES games that deserve like a little brush up.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and if Nintendo realizes that not only is there, because there's been a call for these kind of like classic games being brought over to the West,
Right.
but that there's actually a monetary support that can go behind it to justify these kind of things. Like, yeah, no, I will give, I might not play the game right away, but I will give it $5 just to support this kind of like methodology.
Me too.
Yeah. With that being said, I was kind of getting some weird, like, semi-related nostalgic feelings while looking at, like, the graphics and the gameplay that they had in that, like, announcement trailer.
Yes, which is weird because you never played the NES one.
No, I've never played it, but I just couldn't help but remember my experience with Shining Force for the Sega, which was,
Right.
like, one of the first games that I really remember not only playing, but investing myself in and getting into. And it was the same kind of tactical RPG kind of game. So
I remember you named your hero Galen in that game.
Oh yeah,
and
that hasn't changed. That has not changed.
Wait, you still call yourself Galen in video games?
I am terrible when it comes to coming up with names for characters.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
So, although I did my Baldur's Gate character, I did name Lucian. So, slight upgrade, not much, but I'm getting better.
Embarrassing. Still embarrassing.
Yeah.
I thought your neck was gonna eat you just now, Galen.
No, that's what the beard's for.
You shrugged so hard, I didn't know where you started and where you ended.
I started to turtle.
Getting back to this Fire Emblem, what the Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light. That's what it's called.
Yeah, that's a mouthful.
They
is. Can't just call it basic Fire Emblem anymore, so.
Well, no, because that's actually the 7th game in the West. For those who don't know, the first Fire Emblem that made it to English-speaking shores was really, I think it was the 6th game in the series or something.
The first one was the 7th one, and then they came out with Fire Emblem, The Empire Strikes Back, and then they came out with the, Return of the Marth.
And the whole series is actually really underwhelming.
That joke was a lot funnier in my mind.
This is a layered joke. I'm saying jokes. You have to stop talking. Now you've ruined it. No, I'm not saying no. There is also a limited edition of this game happening. Now,
it looks really nice.
Yes, it's excellent. It's got a deluxe art book, 222 pages.
Mm-hmm.
A replica game box with the instruction booklet and a map. A replica game pack art piece, which I think is just like a see-through NES shaped, like cartridge shaped thing that you just sort of display. That's garbage. I hate that. And then also a like mini Nintendo Power. I don't even know what it is. It's just like a little plaque, but it's very, very thin. It's like maybe nice cardstock. Anyway, I love the idea of that art book. I want to know what kind of art is in it, though. If it's just promotional images, boy, does that belong in the trash. You know what I mean? But if it's got like sketches and stuff from the developers in there and stuff we haven't seen before, that kind of stuff I love. If it's promo images, no thank you, please. But regardless, this is going to sell like friggin' hotcakes. It's only $50.
Yeah, especially at that price. I would not be surprised if it's already sold out, so...
It has only launched, at least only speaking for America, it has only gone up on GameStop for pre-order. And but by the way, GameStop is awful for pre-orders. I tried to pre-order something the other day. I mean, I know that they're awful, but there was, what was it? It was Monster Hunter Amiibo, and I was like, you know, I like those Amiibo. Let me take a look at that. I went to go pre-order them. They charge you shipping, even though you go over like the $35 and then you get free shipping. If it's a pre-order, they still charge you shipping, and they charge you per item. So I was putting in 2 things. It bumped my thing up $15 just for shipping alone, and I was like, this is awful, and so I refused to buy it. Like, that's me and the Joy-Con. Like, I want the two of the same color, but no, I refuse to because it's a highway robbery.
Don't quote me on this, but I think their
We
site
won't.
broke the other day for like a hot second where everything was absolutely free.
Yes, what happens there? I woke up in the middle of the night and I saw a bunch of tweets about it, and I was like, I gotta try and go back to bed in my nightmares. I doubt anybody actually got those things. They probably canceled it all, but I did see people posting that they bought like Final Fantasy VII for free.
Yeah. It's worth free. Free 99.
Is it? Is it though? Jesse is real horny in that game. God, you know what? I feel so strongly about that game. No game has made me madder, I don't think, in recent memory. For real, dude. Just whenever I think about it, I feel so strongly about it. I'm just so upset about it still. Anyway, speaking of upset, all of you collector weirdos out there, I know there's a lot of you, Barry especially, you'll be really angry to know that they went full all on out for the Fire Emblem Special Edition, except for a game cart. There is no game cart that comes with this special edition. It's just a download code for the game.
Yeah. That doesn't really surprise me all too much.
Yeah, also I don't care. I'm not the audience for that kind of thing. I don't care about collectible things, but I get people being upset about that. However, I think that the people that are upset have to acknowledge what a tiny, tiny demographic they are. I feel for them, I do, but also at the same time, I'm like,
well, and it's like, I just don't understand the whole thing of like Mario Kart Home Circuit, how it doesn't have a physical game cartridge that comes along with that. I don't get that. Like, I honestly don't. It's not something that I want to constantly have in my system all the time. Like,
yeah. People
I'm not
like
going to
their
display
things
it on there. That's what the car is for.
People like their things.
Yeah.
It's oh my god, we opened up the can of worms of people being like, actually, when you get a digital download code, you don't really download you don't own the game. You have to. God, I know. We know.
You know what? If you want, shoot us some text messages.
No,
not text messages.
No, don't shoot us anything. You can peek out at Galen and he'll call you out or whatever I don't know, stupid things you say. Rest in peace, anybody who's trying to follow along with this episode.
NintendoEverythingPod@gmail.com.
The last thing, though, that we definitely have to mention about this Fire Emblem shenanigans is that this is also a limited release.
Why are they doing that so much? I
don't know.
I don't get it. Are they renting servers now and this is all they can do?
So the game will only be offered until that magical date of March 31st, 2021. So this is Fire Emblem, Mario Bros. 35, and Super Mario All-Stars 2, or whatever it's called.
I wonder if Nintendo is really planning on like redoing their, like rebranding their entire like eShop ecosystem or something like that. Like, there's got to be something specific about that date.
You know what, Galen? I think you're onto something. I think logically, the only logical place to go with this date and you know the patterns we're seeing is that obviously Nintendo is going to shut down completely on March 31st.
Just close shop. They're going to sell all their IPs. You know?
No, they're going to turn into a software-only maker.
Yeah.
And they're going to make all the games for PlayStation, and then people will be really mad.
Yeah, if you own a Nintendo Switch, it's actually going to spontaneously combust. I mean, look at the Joy-Cons. They're halfway there.
Sure. Just a paperweight, that's what that is now. Handheld gaming is dead, they said, after having just broken records of being the #1 selling console 14 months in a row or whatever it was, and they surpassed the 360 in that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't get this thing. If it's true, why? If it's not true, it's shitty to lie to your people or your consumers about it to trudge up FOMO or something. Like if they're actually going to be like, oh, well, no, what?
Oh, you're talking about like the cut-off limited release thing?
That's not the actual software thing.
Yeah,
You
well,
buffoon!
You made some really weird jumps with your conversation here. I'm trying to follow this train.
Episode 102, M. Night Shyamalan, a lot of twists, gotta keep up.
Your train of thought is heading straight towards a bus full of puppies right now, and I'm just trying to direct you.
Little
in
golf
telling-
clap. Good Galen, good gob. You're connecting, you're making things happen, I like it.
Remember, ladies and gentlemen, 5-star rating on iTunes. 'Cause
Yeah.
you totally deserve it.
Yeah! Yeah. Let's move on to the whatever. What do we do next? DLC! So here we are, additional DLC segment where we recommend you some stuff on the internet. Galen, how about you go first?
Well, mine's a simple one. It's actually one that I recommended a while ago. It's looking up a YouTube creator called King of Skill. He does a bunch of video game compilations, usually around like Super Smash Bros, and just picks various characters and comedically shows how awesome he is in playing this game. This particular one is just called Steve is Bad, which, you remember how I was saying, you know, Minecraft Steve is a really weird character to play as? It's weird to say, but it's refreshing to see how bad I am at the game after watching him play as Steve. And just some of the things that he does and the ways that he uses the character, it's like, oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Galen, you just have such a positive spin on everything. I love it. Even how bad you are at game, you still positive spin.
Hey, as long as you get to have fun, right? I'm not trying to be a pro gamer, so.
We know.
Yeah, I know you do.
I know you know.
But no, he makes really fun videos. It's stupid, silly, and just enjoyable. So definitely check him out, especially this episode, if you want to find out some of the cool things you can do with the new character.
Minecraft Steve, whose
Steve
meat
is
too strong for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Yeah, about that.
If y'all don't know.
Have we mentioned this?
I don't think so. I don't know because my life is a blur, but I don't think we did. Minecraft Steve, his win animation, he like eats some meat, a steak, and then he puts it down by his side. But just because of the nature of everything, the meat is sticking straight up, like at a, 45-degree angle? Who knows? 70-degree angle? And it looks like a penis.
You get to see Steve's blocky meat.
Yeah, that's
all of its
the
glory.
low-hanging fruit, Galen. Anyway, that was patched right the F out, but I can't believe it even made it that far because it's not even like, oh, you have to sort of stretch to like see it in that way. It looks really like he's holding his penis.
It is unfortunate.
It's pretty funny. I saw some comments of people being like, really, censorship? And I'm like, we just use that word for anything now, don't we?
Really?
God.
Really?
I don't know, just the gamers, you know? The gamers.
Capital G. Jamers.
So my additional DLC, I got two of them. One is our lovely boy Coffee Cakes. He is a listener of the show, and he's a lovely Irishman. Love him. Love that gobshite. He made a video called Comparing Ghost of Tsushima to Mini Ninjas for No Reason. And it's a nice little video. Did you watch it too, Galen?
I did. He posted it on our Discord.
He did.
Yeah. It was very enjoyable.
I thought you had more stuff to say. It's just like kind of looking at the aesthetic and also like gameplay and game feel of Ghost of Tsushima and how it compares to another game that you really wouldn't expect. And it's just a nice little sort of food for thought thing, nothing too heavy, but it's also funny and there's also nice editing in there. And he has very few subscribers, so please go over there and give him some likes and some subscribes. And I think I used an extra syllable in there too.
Hey, you know what? It's all good.
And the other video that I'm recommending, just because YouTube seems to be the thing, is a channel that you've definitely heard me recommend before. It's called In Praise of Shadows. I can't get over how incredibly good, well edited this guy's videos are. So this video is on the golden age of horror comics part 1. It's like an hour and a half or an hour and 20 minutes or something like that. I'm only a half an hour in because I could only watch it on my breaks.
Mm-hmm.
It is so informative and so well edited for like the flow of attention, because there's such, especially to long form videos, there's such an art to not only breaking things up in chunks of, you know, topics and information. It's like structuring a long form paper, but also keeping it interesting with the language of visual language, and making sure that you lead into something interesting, because like every once in a while when you're like, okay, you know, I've been listening to this for like 10 minutes, I'll pause it and I'll do something else or whatever. Like just before you get to that point, he's bringing something up and he's building on top of that to hit home for this ultimate point that he's trying to make, and he ebbs and flows through that in like all of his videos. All of his videos are so captivating to watch, but he points out some really progressive stuff, and he points out the history of like EC Comics and Tales from the Crypt, stuff like that. I can't wait to watch more of it tonight and probably fall asleep to it.
Excellent.
So In Praise of Shadows, Golden Age of Horror Comics.
Very nice, very nice.
And all of these links are typically found in our description of our video in whatever podcast platform you listen to us on. However, I'll also post these links from here on out in our Discord as well. So come on over to our Discord, basically.
Thank you! Love you guys!
And speaking of that, got a listener feedback segment. This used to be the listener mail, but it grew too big. It grew so strong because of our listeners.
Mm-hmm. It ate all of its veggies and it tried to eat all of its meats, but Nintendo deemed that, you know, it didn't want that at all.
Nintendo censorship. Censored gaming.
Man.
Nintendo's trying to be the parent.
Free expression. Free the meat. God damn it.
I tell you every episode, just get yourself a tape recorder.
You know, I go a lot of places for my jokes. Some of those places I don't realize I'm there until I'm already like stepping off the train.
Not until you've peeked out.
Yeah.
Free the meat, everybody. Peek out.
So who are you calling out this episode?
Say freak. Say meat. Peek out. Jesus. If you were born before 1991, maybe you know what I'm talking about. You know what? That song always makes me think of, not Chris. What was his name? Pat.
Grass.
No, not, stop it. Pat from Saturday Night Live.
I was never that much of a Saturday Night Live guy.
Okay, we must move on.
Yeah.
Listener feedback segments. So, as we said in the beginning of the show, Apple Podcast reviews, huge, super important for us to get recommended through algorithms, so we highly encourage you to just click 5 stars on that. You don't even have to be an Apple Podcast listener. You just gotta create an account, which is fine. You can delete it right away afterwards, I guess. And then you just click little 5 stars and that's it. If you want to leave some words, we'll read it out in the show.
We do love the words that you guys like to leave.
I mean, whatever. Just like this whatever from VW Brandon. VW Brandon says,
Oh my god, you actually had one prepared this episode.
Galen, I am extremely organized. If you have not seen that reflected in 102 episodes, you haven't been listening. Wake up, sheeple! Free the meat! I can't keep using that. It's too good. I want to keep using it.
Use it all the time.
VW Brandon writes, delightful. Even though I don't play all the games they discuss, the banter between Oni and Galen keep me coming back. The game reviews are pretty thorough as well. Thank you, VW Brandon. I'm sorry that my game review is not particularly thorough this episode.
Oh, but thank you very much, Brandon. VW Brandon.
Yes. The Volkswagen.
5-star deeper!
And we also got the email If you want to write into us with your questions, comments, concerns, corrections, and such, you can do one of two things. You can write in an email to us, like the lovely fellow Andrew, whom we'll be reading from soon. The email is nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
Please send your lovely emails to nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
Or option 2 is in our Discord. We have a channel called Questions. You can write your question in there if that makes it easier for you, and give us a topic of conversation. Ask for some life advice. Galen can't give life advice, though.
No, I'm terrible at it. It just becomes...
Actually, Galen, you can give life advice. It's just that it comes with the caveat that everybody should do literally the opposite of what you suggest.
Tell me more.
No. I'm on to you.
Ah, you saw my trap.
Saw your trap? I guess that's fine. That one skirts through. That one peeks right through. Anyway, there's been some lovely listeners who have written questions in our channel on Discord, so we will get to those in due time. Got to do it in due order, and then once we get like kind of enough, then I definitely read 2 or 3 per episode. So keep them coming, and you'll increase the speed at which we read.
Absolutely. And remember, if you want to leave those questions, come over to our Discord at tiny.cc/NintendoEverythingPod.
All wrong, bro! All wrong! Not only did you mispronounce Discord, but it's tiny.cc/NintendoEverythingPod.
I thought I said that.
No!
tiny.cc/NintendoEverythingPod.
You didn't say pod the first time.
I thought I did.
No, this is the second time that you thought you said something, and you're making me sound I'm crazy, but there is a recording.
Yes, and I want you to go back to the recording, because you can also hear me say Discord the right way.
No, you said discard.
No, DISGOURD.
You didn't even say that. Galen, listen, I've only got so much energy, and you're a human vampire on me right now. And sapping my strength.
While that is very thematic to this lovely month that we are in, you should use the rest of that energy answering this wonderful email written to us by Andrew. Hi, Andrew. How's it going?
Hi, Andrew. I sure hope that you're not in Galen's warpath like I am.
Andrew writes in, "Hello, Oni Dino and Galen." Or should I say Galen and Oni Dino? Galen is far more entertaining of the two. He's got some awesome dad jokes going on.
Andrew, I'm sorry, I couldn't understand any of that.
No. You're ruining it. You're ruining. Just give me a minute.
Oh, I'm ruining it? Interesting. It's an interesting take. Oh, ew. Galen.
I started listening a year ago.
No. I'm interrupting this right now. This deserves derailment.
Go on. You're really good at this.
That was mean. Galen, you made gross O faces just now. So, Andrew, I hope you're happy with yourself. Go on, read the rest of his words.
Started listening about a year ago, and while listening to your 100th episode, congratulations by the way, I thought of 2 questions. So we're going to answer the first one, then the second one. First question, do you remember when you were a kid believing in rumors/achievements about video games that weren't true? When I was a kid, I loved Final Fantasy III, also known as Final Fantasy VI, and I remember reading online that you could get a bunch of Mario characters in the game to join your party if you just did the exact right things in the right order. Wasn't until months later that I realized that was a crazy idea, but I wanted it to be true so badly. I was so gullible.
Lovely. So, okay.
Yes.
Now, we have talked a little bit about the Lara's Bum cheat code. That was what's that called?
PlayStation
April Fool's?
1?
Well, April Fool's
Oh,
joke.
yeah.
I think that's what it was. So we've talked about that, and we sort of believed it. We tried a lot and it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
But on the school grounds, I don't think I had where I was up to no good.
Yep. You were
Jesus.
never up to any good there.
What was I saying? Oh,
You were just trading Pokemon with the kids around the neighborhood. You got one shiny Blastoise, your mom got scared, and she said, "You're putting that in a sleeve! You were expecting a rhyme? This is the 90s, we don't care about that." That's how your mother sounds. This is canonical now.
I have 90 objections to everything that you just said, bro. The most offensive of which being this is the 90s, we don't care about rhyming. Freaking new school hip hop was in its late stages of serious swing, and new school hip hop is all about rhyming. Just disgust me.
I just wanted to see you break right there. It was so close.
You're just like a contrarian windsock. Don't even remember what I was saying. Oh, on the school grounds, I did not
You're
talk
up
to
to no
many.
good.
Shut up! I did not talk to many people about gaming because even though, you know, we could maybe talk about like the most common or popular games at the time, like Super Mario World, gaming was not a regular thing. Like it wasn't just like everybody played video games, or at least everybody knew the big video games or something like that. If it was almost embarrassing to, it still is, to be known for it to be known that you played video games. So I didn't really tell other people that I played video games, and if there were other people in the class that played video games, it was like one or two other people, and maybe we didn't get along or something like that. So I didn't have a whole lot of them, but something like sort of later on when I got to know some other weirdos like Galen, was like that was Super Mario 64 era, and that was of course the Luigi thing. I only recently but heard the whole like L is real in 35 or whatever the hell that thing is. Have you heard about that, Galen?
Yeah.
I never heard about that.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't something that like happened back during the like most early 64 memories that I have of Mario 64. That came like later on with a lot of the internet. But everybody said that you could play as Luigi and like you had to whatever do thing.
Man, the internet in the early days was just this wonderful place where anything could possibly be real, and it could be real because you read it on the internet.
That's what you thought, but it was never wonderful. It was full of cockeyed optimists and unbridled enthusiasm.
Oh man, no, for me it was always just I always embraced my geekdom and actively went to seek out other kids who played video games. And a lot of my stuff, especially around the Pokemon era, like I was really big into the whole Mew is real and you have to use Surf and have that when you go to the SSN and use Strength on pushing the truck. Like I remember resetting my game because I wanted that to be true and I wanted to try that out. So.
I honestly, up until, I don't know, however many years ago, I actually thought that was real.
No.
I mean, I wasn't like super big into Pokemon after the first generation, but for whatever reason, just because it was such a wide rumor, I, for the longest time, just thought that was actually correct.
Yeah, I did actually read that there is some sort of a way to make him legitimately appear in the game as a wild Pokemon, but it really involves like using the broken coding of the game to trick
it's something like that, right?
Like the spawn rate, yeah. So,
because I remember somebody did that, and then that's how I got my Mew, is they traded it to me on the bus or something like that.
I just used Game Shark.
I don't think I had a Game Shark at that time.
Didn't I trade you the Mew?
I have no idea. Possibly. I mean, if we boot up our systems, it probably says, because you clearly name every character of yours Galen because you have no creativity, Lucian.
No, it's true. It's true. Although I remember us each getting a copy of one of the new versions of Pokemon and then just constantly restarting the game and trading each of the starters.
That was your idea, and it
full set.
sucked.
It sucked, but we each had a full set of Pokemon from it.
And it burned me out in the game, and I was like, I don't want to play this anymore. It's a lazy game. Game Freak? More like Game Stink.
You know, in the 90s, that wouldn't have, been very popular.
Galen, do you know the 90s? Because clearly you don't.
No, I blocked most of that out so I can just shy away from any sort of attempts at nostalgia. It's how I survived. It's all about mental health.
Skeptical of that sentence. One other schoolyard rumor. This was back many moons ago where lots of kids on my block came over one day to play Mortal Kombat 2, I think it was. And this is actually true, but we didn't know if it was true or not, and it just kind of is representative of like the fervor that we had back then when we couldn't verify anything other than just by doing it to see if it works or whatever. And then when you would, like, if it was an untrue rumor, then even when you did the thing exactly as they said, then you were like, just because you had little kid logic, you would like say, oh, well, it's because we didn't do it this way. Oh, I bet it, like, if we did it like this way, then this would be it. Okay, let's try it this way. And you would just try that. Just because what the hell else were you going to do? You didn't have a phone or whatever. This didn't exist back then in 92 or whatever the hell it was. A whole bunch of my friends came over. They weren't even friends. There was people in the neighborhood that I didn't really like very much. And there was always one kid who was like 4 years older than us, but he still hung out with us. And we were playing Mortal Kombat 2 and doing however many battles perfect or whatever it was to unlock like Noob Saibot or Jade or something like that, who are actually in the game. Like, that's the cool thing about the Mortal Kombat games, is that they had stuff like that, so then it made other things that people would make up about other games feel believable, because some of that stuff did exist in some games, right?
Yeah.
So we were doing that, and somebody must have, because there was like 6 kids in this room, and somebody must have like nudged the Super Nintendo with their foot or something like that, or like pulled the controller a little too hard or something like that. Because with consoles, I mean, it sort of happens now, but with consoles back then, they were pretty touchy where, they could just kind of get like jiggled and it would reset the game, or the game would get all weird and glitchy. And something like that happened where the game like turned off. And we had been playing it for like ever, doing the things, and we all freaked out. We're like, what's going on? And then, just because of our little kid logic, we were like, well, it was obviously your sister. So then I went down to my sister, and I have an older sister who's 9 years older than me. So when you have like a 6-year-old brother and you're 15, the last thing you want to do is interact with your 6-year-old brother when you're 15. And then suddenly 6 kids, 6 6-year-olds, well, I should say 5 6-year-olds and like 1 10-year-old show up. They show up in your face when you're blow drying your hair and suddenly accuse you of breaking the video game in the other room because you were using the blow dryer to dry your hair. My sister, who has quite the temper in general, she was so pissed. I don't think I let any of those kids ever come back. End of story.
End of story. Come on, sis. We wanted to get Noob Saibot.
Yeah.
Man.
You're using too much electricity. I remember that's exactly what one of those kids said.
Yeah. The only other thing that really comes to mind is just like broken kid myths was the April Fool's joke for Sonic and Tails in Melee. So.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was also a April Fool's. Why can't I remember that? Joke in a magazine. I can't remember exactly which one, but they doctored up an image of Sonic and Tails.
EGM? Was it EGM or?
You could say the right one and I wouldn't know. And they doctored up an image so it made it look real. And you had to beat 20 guys in cruel melee mode. And it was like the wireframe guys, and they were insanely difficult, like way beyond like level 9 computers. And they would come in, so you would fight 3 of them at a time. And I think you had like low health, or not low health, but like you would smash really far or whatever. It was crazy hard. One of our buddies at the time, he actually ended up doing it because we tried forever. We would like be like, okay, let's have a sleepover.
We were like trying to do, we were trying to do like Donkey Kong in the corner, just like smash and be like, they can't get to us if we do this.
We would have like a sleepover, and we like tried for like at least a month, being like, okay, this is the weekend, we're gonna get it done. And then we would trade the controller off, and just, somebody would be doing that, and other people would be reading a book, or another person, just because you couldn't verify shit on the internet like you can now. And that's a double-edged sword, right? Because then you don't waste a whole bunch of time, but part of it is like the magic of like just believing, it's like believing in Santa Claus kind of thing.
Exactly.
Same thing with like CDs, right? Do you remember, I very specifically remember it was the Missy Elliott CD. I forgot what the name of the album was. It was like her second or third album. It was all blue and white. And at the end of like, track 14 or whatever it was, there was all of these 1 second tracks all the way to like track 50 or something like that. Then when you got to like the last track, it was like a special bonus song.
Huh.
And then it was like, oh, cool, there's this song in here. Nobody knows about this but me. And then like some CDs where if you put it into a computer, as opposed to like your CD player or something like that, there would be a track 0. And or it would play like a little special video or something like that. Like just
they would have little hidden stuff in there,
stuff you wouldn't know about unless you tried it out.
They did that with some video games too, especially with like early like PS1 games. If you put it into a like a computer or an audio player, it would start to play tracks from the actual game. But if the CD, but some companies went a step further and would actually, like, if you put that into a system, I can't remember what game did this, but they actually had the voice actors who were playing the JRPG come out and read out a little announcement of like, hey, this is a video game, not an actual music CD. So you should probably take it out before it hurts your disc or something like that. But it actually, I cannot for the life of me remember what game it was.
What stupid game were you playing that would do that? Thousand Arms?
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
Somebody tell us. Next episode, somebody tell us.
Yeah.
But let's get back to good old Andrew's questions here. Number 2. Galen, read it out.
Absolutely. Yep. Number 2. Well, Andrew continues on saying,
Oh, gross.
And number 2, what scary myths have you heard over your years about games? Kind of like what Creepypasta did years ago with the Haunted Majora's Mask cartridge and the Possessed Ben statue. Look it up if you haven't heard about it. Also, I'd love to hear about anything you've heard while in Japan about haunted games or gaming. Love the podcast. You two work very well together. You guys are proof that opposites can get along in this crazy world of ours. Keep up the authenticity, Andrew. Thank you very much, Andrew.
Thanks, Andrew. That's a really nice email. I really didn't understand anything you said at the very beginning of it, so it's a shame, but it was a really, really great email.
Just all white noise to you.
Yeah.
So, scary myths of video games, Oni.
I was trying to think about this.
The one who has a scary name. Me. Continue. We're waiting on you now.
Oh, are we? Because I think we're trying to let this moment of embarrassment land. I was trying to think about this just before the podcast, and I'm not super into like creepypastas or like things like that, like rumors or whatever. I think
kind of same here.
When I've heard kids talking about that, like when I was a kid, I think that like the logic part of my brain, just because I was a little bit more of a logical person, not that is like a humble brag or something like that led to many a downfall in my life. Oh my God, I just went to a dark place. What was I talking about? Haunted games.
Things you... Yes.
Things
you've heard as a kid.
I think I shot down kids where like... Because there were so many like kids I knew. I feel like everybody knew this, but I feel like I had a lot of these kids where they would just make shit up, or they would just say stuff like constantly.
Yeah.
And like kids do that, but I feel like I was surrounded by those people. So I was always constantly like, nuh-uh, no you didn't. You did not do that. No. like stuff like that. And yeah, so I didn't get too much into that. I also didn't have a computer for like a very long time, just because of money. So I didn't get into like creepypastas or whatever like the proto creepypasta was.
Yeah. So
something that's sort of along this vein is in Super Mario 64, going back to that, because that was such a milestone of a video game. You know, games didn't look like this, exist like this, play like this when 64 came out. Like, it was nuts when that came out. There's a Toad who says something about like his friends being trapped in walls or something like that, and I think we talked, or somebody talked about it, or maybe I read something about it, just it being weird, or like, oh, the toads are actually lining the walls and you can't see them. Mario is just like running around, and in between the walls are all of these dead toads or whatever the hell. You got to save them, and that's what's happening with the stars or something. How about you?
Honestly, I'm kind of the same thing with you in a lot of the creepypasta, scary myths or whatever. I don't know. I dismissed a lot of those just out of hand, so I didn't put much emotional attachment to them in any way.
Yeah.
One of the ones that do kind of
peek out at you,
at me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
they call out at you. Both wrong, by the way.
I know. But the whole Pokemon Black and Lavender Town creepypastas that were out there, because there was something about like Red and Blue were so popular at the time, and I think Yellow had just come out, that this idea that they made a dark version of a Pokemon game, like there was this little semblance of possible reality behind it. Like, maybe this is like a Japan exclusive type thing that never made its way over.
Yeah, and especially then, like before the widespread internet, there was so much stuff that it was just like, it's happening in Japan. You know what I mean? And also, excuse me, also, you have to remember like what time, I'm sorry, I really interrupted you, but you have to remember like what time this was for us as kids. So this was like the early 90s, right? This is coming off the heels of Japan being in like a heyday of economic growth, and then there was suddenly like the economic bubble burst in Japan shortly after that. But our parents, or like adult figures like aunts and uncles, maybe even like older siblings or something, they would tell us, especially stupid people from the Midwest, they would tell us things like, oh, Japan is 10 years ahead of us. Like, I remember very specifically that was a sentiment that was constantly shared by multiple adults to me when I was young in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes as kids, because we just kind of heard that and accepted that kind of stupid shit as fact, we were like, oh, there's all these video games in Japan and we don't even know, and whatever. And sometimes you would hear about it in a magazine or whatever. But sorry,
well, and even today, like, cell phone technology in Japan, for example, is like a good 8 years ahead of where we are right now. And that's just, trust me, take it from somebody who has spent several years studying this kind of stuff. Like, that is an actual thing.
What are you talking
still
about?
Vastly ahead of us.
Well, that's a story for another time. We'll talk about it in the Discord.
Exactly.
Because I don't believe you.
No, kind of going back to the question, though.
Yeah.
The thing about both scary myths and just regular myths is, even as a kid, like, kids aren't dumb. Kids are just gullible. So it's a matter of...
I'd argue.
Well, you have to construct a myth that is believable enough that with their understanding of how things work, they can make logical conclusions to make that happen. And I think that's part of the reason why, for both me and you, the whole video game scary things never really connected all too much. Because we so instinctively dismissed, like, why would a video game be haunted? Why would there be a copy of Majora's Mask with some creepy Ben statue in it when, the game is 3 years old? Like, something doesn't add up here. So
yeah. That's a good point to bring up. And then this last part. I didn't actually read this. I only heard it now when you read it, Galen. Andrew says, I'd love to hear anything you've heard while in Japan about haunted games and gaming.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to be the bearer of disappointment on this, but I don't have any answer to that. I haven't heard anything about like haunted games or anything like that. I was
Fake Japanese haunter right here. Self-admitted.
okay. I was 18 or 19 when I moved to Japan. 19, I think, when I moved to Japan. I was also a university student. I was barely playing video games at that time. Not like I had barely started. I was, of course, playing video games when I was younger. I went into a lull during that very specific time in university. I was just about drinking and eating and socializing and figuring out my sexuality. Video games were like bottom of the importance then, so I really didn't have many video game friends in Japan. I just had drinking friends. They would call me otaku, like, you know, affectionately, and be like, oh, you're such an otaku because you like video games. I'm like, whatever, like, I like video games. It's not like I you know, am into something like really niche, which there's no problem with that, but I mean, just like, they didn't have, you know, ammo to call me otaku, but they liked to tease me. And I despite the interaction that you and I have, Galen, very often I'm the one who gets teased in a lot of friendship relationships. It's just that for whatever reason with you, this is our natural dynamic. So like in Japan, like, you know, my buddy Ryohei, he is constantly...
I miss Ryohei.
Yeah, he's great. He is constantly making fun of me and stuff like that. He's a really good guy. And I'm the butt of the joke, and like, you know, I get like all worked up over whatever the hell he's saying. So anyway, unfortunately, I don't have any haunted game stories, but I'm always happy to talk about Japan just because I like reminiscing about, you know, one of my favorite times of my life so far. So if you got another Japan question, Andrew, I'm ready to answer it for you. Give you a better answer than that one.
Trust me, the scariest thing about Oni's time in Japan was his fashion statements.
No, it was you coming to visit me because you were legitimately embarrassing.
I'm sure I was.
We've told the stories.
That was a very embarrassing time in my life, and I regret none of it. I would do all of it over again because it was so much fun.
Yeah. So, speaking of so much fun, Andrew, thank you for this great email, this great two-parter, this great Halloween-themed email that we probably didn't have great answers for. I don't know. You be the judge. I think that this turned into some good conversation. Talked about some memories.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to give us memories, Galen, what can they do?
They can definitely send those emails to nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
That's nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com. What else can they do? There's option number 2.
Option number 2 is you can definitely join us on our Discord at... Is it at?
No.
It's not. Go to the site tiny.cc/NintendoEverythingPod.
5th time's a charm.
As I said right the first time.
You did it, bro.
And thank you very much again, Andrew. That was a wonderful email.
You are in the Hall of Fame of Good Boys.
Yeah.
What next?
I'm tired.
What's coming up? What's coming out on the Nintendo Everything podcast? Wait, no. Oh. Go to our website.
What is coming up next on the Nintendo Everything podcast?
Bro,
Please
I
tell
have
us, Sony.
no idea until we start rolling. No idea.
Nope, that checks out.
We have a
What
website.
about Nintendo Everything the site?
That's what I'm trying to say.
I know, and I'm making it difficult.
Don't quit your day job. Anyway, it's not our
I'm
website.
not making it difficult?
Oh my God.
You're sending
Oh my God.
conflicted messages
I
here.
am so tired, and I'm just trying to end this show, and I just...
What's coming up?
There is a website called nintendoeverything.com to which we are slightly affiliated. nintendoeverything.com is run by a wonderful man named Brian and his cohorts and his Koopalings. and they're working round the clock, and they're working super hard to get news out immediately. So anything you need to know about Nintendo, go to nintendoeverything.com and you can read it there. We also have Twitter. That's at NinEverything, and a YouTube, youtube.com/NinEverything. Galen, why are you smiling? This isn't a funny hour.
Because this is fun. I'm having a good time
I'm not. What's your Twitter? Go have a fun time on your Twitter. Where?
If you would like to have a fun time with me as well, come find me on Twitter at Mobius087.
Send me sympathy.
He needs it.
At Oni_Dino on Twitter. Or come and join our Discord. Talk there. We already said the URL. Figure it out. Now, Galen, to end the show, I just want to make yet another correction on something that you were wrong about earlier.
I'm sure it's a long list, so you might need to narrow that down a little bit.
I am. I'm just choosing one particularly egregious thing that I haven't mentioned yet. Your retelling of the story of Fire Emblem was all wrong.
Okay. As the Japanese translator of the original game, that I'm sure you're credited as, I'm not sure where I'm going with this, but let's roll with it. Please enlighten us.
Okay, so Fire Emblem is about the god of war, Mars, and he is on a quest to find pants because he's wearing the highest cut tunic ever, even more so than Link. Like, this is not Fire Emblem, this is Leg Emblem. And he's with his beard, Sita. They're off to find the mystical land of Garnef. But when they get to the mystical land of Garnef, they find that Sephiroth has already taken the life stream from the Promised Land.
You know, now I know why your other friends make fun of you.
If I'm this awful, but I'm the one that makes fun of you, how low of a rung on the ladder are you?
Everybody's got to start somewhere. And I'm willing to support anybody who needs a leg up.
We'll
You
see.
seem conflicted.
Shut up. But the next week. Bye. Let's. Until then, Nintendo.
Stay tuned to Nintendo Everything.
Bye.
Later, everyone.
ようベイビーなオラの踊りをいっぺん見てくれや熱い魂回るディスコボールやってきましたディスコホール目指せ輝くナンバーワン望みは高く限りなくオラのダンスステップにみんなハンズアップフロアのテンションはもうライザークラッペハンダベヨースタンドアッパー集まってそう固まってヒアウィーゴーだエブリバディレーザービームでレッツラゴー登り詰めるべディスコブルー宇宙に届けこのディスコダンスみんな大好き I love you ディスコでクソファンキーナイMIC でチェコワンズオラの話も一遍聞いてくれ熱い魂語るライムスターそうやってきましたアイマスター夢は輝くナンバーワンきっと届くべな君ねこの思いラップステックにみんなハンズアップフロアのテンションはもうライザークラッペハンダベヨースタンドアップ滑舌は確実そう確実ヒアウィーゴーだエブリバディゲゲラッチョーでレッツラゴー上の方目指す方集めて固めてそして語るでみんな大好き I love you知ってそう集めれば星になるいつかTo the sky 誰だって飛べるのさ夜空を走る